Hello, this is Dread, and in today's video topic, we're going to be going over my opinions on Last Epoch Season 2, what I enjoyed and what I didn't enjoy. So, first things off, we need a little bit of context. So, I played the first, I think, week or two in Merchant's Guild. I played a Smite Fissure Paladin, which is good for my League starter. Then I played a Frostbite Heartseeker Marksman, pushed that to 1,000 corruption. It was fun, and killed Aberoth with it. Then we went on to Fizz.Werebear, which did the same. It felt okay. Didn't have the best DPS, but it was okay. Then we played Ignite Black Hole Mana Guide Sorcerer. That one was a really fun build. I enjoyed that one. And then we played a Spine Flame Whip Stunlock Warlock, kind of like that. That was fun. And then after that, I was kind of done with the trade because of, some gold inflation and stuff like that. And it was very unrealistic for me to make builds in there because I'd be able to make really overpowered builds because I became rich very quickly, unfortunately, which caused all of my stuff to just be unrealistic. So I moved on to play some solo character found. If you don't know, this is when I take a character from level 1 and push it all the way to around 300-ish corruption. But instead now I push it up to 700 to 800-ish corruption, and I kill Aberoth as well because the standards have risen this patch. So we played an Ignite Hammer Throw Paladin, got that all the way through. Didn't have the most single target DPS, but it functioned and its clear was pretty good. Then after that, I played a Cold Totem Pop Shaman. That was a meme build. Don't play that build. It completely killed my computer. Then we took a break and we played some Slurmancer because, it finally came out and I've been, following it for years. So I finally wanted to play it. Then after that break, we played a Bleed, Torkerfin's Hunger, No Man's Land, Blade Dancer. That build was fun, but it's definitely not the best thing ever. Then after that, I didn't make a few videos because I've been kind of on a little bit of a break per se. I've been working, like for instance, I have I think 5 builds ready to go for videos, but I'm waiting on, for people to show up again in terms of Last Epoch, right? But those builds, I played a Frostbite Shrapnel Volcanic Orb Sorcerer, which was really fun. I really enjoyed that one. Then I played a Bleed Sabertooth Beastmaster. Wasn't the best thing ever, but it functioned, right? Then I played a Bleed Javelin Forge Guard. That was very fun. I really enjoyed that one, especially with the MTX. Then I played a Lightning Shuriken Blade Dancer. That build was also really fun. And then finally, for the last build, I played a Lightning Blast Static Sorcerer, which I just finished a few minutes ago. Now, the reason why we went on this tangent to talk about all the builds I played was I wanted to be very clear when I say this. I have played good builds. I've played bad builds. I've played builds that could do Uber Aberoth. I've played builds that couldn't do Uber Aberoth no matter how much investment you poured into it. Even if you hacked the game and gave yourself insta-god items, you still probably couldn't do Uber Aberoth, right? And I've played mediocre builds. I've played builds in Merchant's Guild with really high investments. I've played meme builds, and then I've also played characters from level 1 all the way in solo character found all the way to an appropriate amount of progression. The reason why I'm saying all this is so that you understand where I'm coming from when I talk about this, because I didn't just play a Judgment Paladin and complain that the game was too easy. I didn't play an Erasing Strike Void Knight and completely demolish the game and wonder why I'm even playing the game. I didn't do any of that. I played a fair share of builds, so that's where all of my opinions are going to come from. So just buckle in. Now, we're going to talk about the negative stuff first, mainly just because there isn't that much negative stuff this time around. Also, as well, I want to leave the video off on a positive note because a lot of people think I'm some sort of negative Nancy or something like that because all they ever do is watch my negative videos and they don't watch the 500 plus videos of me playing builds and enjoying myself. So, let's talk about the negative stuff first. Uber Aberoth. Uber Aberoth. Where do I even start? The game has kind of evolved a lot over the past year. Enemies have gotten more and more and more HP. Now, this isn't bad. I don't think this is a bad thing, by the way, when I say these kind of things. It's just over the past year, there's been a very large amount of creep of boss HP to the point where the same content you were doing a year ago or 2 years ago versus now, the bosses have like 5 to 10 times the amount of HP, especially if you're fighting an Oribus after the bug fix, or if, of course, you're playing against Uber Aberoth. I think Uber Aberoth has like a base of 50 million HP, and then that's not taking into account all of the boss ward that he has, meaning that to kill him in an appropriate amount of time, you need a very large amount of DPS, because I'll be honest, this is just my personal opinion, and I've argued with a lot of people in the last Epoch community because for some reason they don't play other ARPGs and they don't really know how to read the room. Nobody wants to fight Uber Aberoth for 10 minutes long. I don't know about you, but I don't want to make my Uber encounter last like 10 minutes long. I think that there's some exceptions, like when you're doing like a gauntlet race, like in Path of Exile, where that one dude like spent like 20 minutes killing Uber Eater or whatever for the prize. Cool, whatever, like fun, yeah. But everyone was laughing about how terrible it was, which is good. That's how you should be. I don't really think that you should have the expectation where you sit down for a boss fight and it lasts more than 10 minutes. Dude, I barely last 10 minutes in bed. How the fuck am I supposed to last 10 minutes in a boss fight like that and not fall asleep? And the main issue why is because he just has a lot of HP. And if you're not playing something that is abusing certain interactions, where you have like infinite mana with Mana Well, you're not infinitely tanky thanks to sacking consecrated dot grounds, or you have infinite damage like Falconer, you're playing a normal build, it's going to take a long time to chip down his health because the game really isn't designed around him, and it's really weird. He kind of sticks out like a sore thumb, especially if you look through all of the skills that exist in the game. Now, of course, the devs did say that they don't expect every single build to kill him. Completely understandable. But the amount and the just, I don't know, the egregious nature of how little can do it is kind of unacceptable, to be honest with you. Like, did they test the boss at all? Like, I'll be honest with you, I don't really think anyone at EHG actually like played a normal minion build and killed Uber Aberoth. I'd like to be proven wrong, but did they play anything like, I don't know, zombies? Did they play skeletons? Did they play like something that wasn't A-bomb? Did they play like hell, even what's his name? The David Harbour helmet. Did they even play like that build? Like Giga Wraith? Like, did they play normal Wraiths? Did they just play any kind of minion build whatsoever and realize that if you have minions that can die, they'll die on the dot ground? Did they play a totem build? Did they play thorn totems? Did they do anything like that? I know that like builds, like I know that not every single build is supposed to do them and all that, but just having so many mechanics based on like anti-minion stuff is kind of weird, considering that historically Last Epoch has been a very minion player friendly game. It's only very recently that the mentality towards minions has soured a little bit, specifically for me and a lot of other people because of like snapshotting and all that. But like for a while, minions were completely fine until they started like ramping up the difficulty of the game significantly without going back. And that's the problem, is they added Uber Aberoth without going back and balancing the rest of the game. And I think that's the most egregious part. They spent time adding a new boss when they haven't even finished like actually fixing certain things that haven't really been touched in years. Like, good example is like, did they ever even try to play Cinder Strike in Uber Aberoth? Like, I would love to see Like, I don't know, Mike play Cinder Strike and try to kill Uber Aberoth with it. Maybe they'll finally buff it. Who knows? Just some questionable things. I don't think Uber Aberoth is bad for the game. I just think that Uber Aberoth is bad for now for the game. Like, specifically now. We're finally getting back into a decent cadence of updates, and now we didn't really need an Uber boss as the moment because you have like half the skills in the game that can't even kill normal Aberoth. I don't know, or without too much difficulty, right? Like a long fight, whatever, who cares? But yeah, that's like my first negative is Uber Aberoth. Now, my second negative is champions and possessions. Now, I like the difficulty of the champions and the possessions. I think that they're mostly well tuned. There are certain things that one shot you out of nowhere, like, Alchemist. Alchemist could go or could get nerfed. Cool. There was a time where, Witch used to delete everyone off the screen, but they nerfed the beam. So now it's fixed. Erased Witch doesn't completely destroy you instantly anymore. So that's an acceptable part now. And there are specific champions that could get nerfed. Rodma, Rodma, every single time I see Rodma, I shit my pants. And I fought like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of high corruption harbingers, but they don't phase me at all. But the moment I see a Rodma, I lose my shit. Mainly just because she just has very overtuned abilities for some reason. She just does a lot of damage with her base damage. And then you have like the Frostbite champion. That one's fine, like the little dog. It's like okay, but definitely it feels a little weird. So those are like the specific things when I mean like they're like bugged or overtuned. The rest of the champions are pretty good in terms of difficulty, and I enjoy the added difficulty of them, and I like having the possessions. Now, what I don't like about them, which is my negative coming up, is I don't like the reward structure based on them. So, for instance, champions, right? You have these champion affixes, and I'll be honest, other than like maybe the lightning blast one, all the others are shit. Like, sure, there might be some champion affix you actually use in some very niche circumstances, but what people don't understand is these are taking in place of unique items, and unique items are very strong in last epoch, right? So you need to have a really good reason to not play it. And like you have like the lightning blast belt, which is a pretty solid, reason, having a large percent chance to get 4 additional chains. That's pretty good. But like the rest of them, like the multi-shot one where it's like chance to poison a hit and multi-shot pen, you're just going to use that on a poison build. And even then, are you really going to use that instead of like 20,000 other pairs of gloves you could use? Or like, I don't know, the gloves that make you virtually immortal, like Ravenous Voids or whatever? Like, I don't know. So the champions, they don't seem to drop that much. They do seem to drop piles of loot sometimes, but it's definitely not that consistent. And the possessions are even worse, in my opinion. You have this memory amber mechanic, and the possessions, even at 1,000 corruption, at 100 corruption, no matter how much you possess and how many things you kill, the amount of amber that you get just by doing normal monos and having them at every single zone is very laughable versus like just doing the amber loop with Lostwood Folly. Now, they could delete Lostwood Folly and like the stuff regarding it, like the loop, and that would be fine. But my problem is I don't want to see possessions every single zone, man. I don't know. Like, sorry about that. I don't want to walk into every single zone and see like the little eggs on the ground. Maybe they'll fix it and change it so that you don't get eggs every single like mono. In my opinion, what should happen is the amount of amber you get from actually killing possessed monsters, especially rare possessed monsters, should go up significantly, but then it should just be more rare. You just don't get as many, and then maybe they don't show up in everything. I'd rather them be more impactful when you actually get them and you actually want to kill them when you find them instead of them being everywhere and then you get desensitized from it. Fuck, that's how they nerfed like loot lizards. Do it to this too. I don't know. the reward structure around the two mechanics of champions and possessions are my problem with it, while the addition of them into the game is fine, in my opinion. So that's just like a small little thing. And surprisingly, that's it for negatives, to be honest. It's a very short list. I know, it's crazy. Everything else in this patch has been absolutely amazing. Like, even like the possessions and champions, like, they're only like half bad. They just need to like tune the numbers and like give us better loot for killing them, or maybe change the champion imprint, right? Now, for things I really enjoy, the 1 LP slam stuff. It makes playing meme builds so much easier. Recently I played a Frostbite Volcanic Orb Sorcerer that was using a Boldar's Wrath that has like the 400% armor shred on it, and then I slapped a T7 armor shred affix on that Boldar's Wrath, right? To get like, I think like 8 to 10 Frostbites on hit, which then I use that with Volcanic Orb, and since Volcanic Orb doesn't care that much for cast speed, you end up with a very large amount of Frostbites very quickly, and that ended up being one of my favorite builds recently. And I'll be honest, I would never have played that ever in this galaxy without either a 3 LP Boldar's Wrath or the 1 LP Slam system. Now, there are some problems with it. Specifically, I don't think it should be that easy to get access to it. I think that like the ability to get the guaranteed slam should be like a reward or like a charm. They could have a charm that drops in the end game where you use that charm and then you go through the dungeon and stuff like that. If you want the guaranteed slam, you have to actually go through the dungeon instead of using the portal, stuff like that. Cool. Maybe, I don't know. Right now, the ability to 1 LP guaranteed slam everything is a little excessive, I think. Maybe, like I said, it could be a reward for, you know, actually playing the game a lot. Cool. But like, it's done a very good job in helping the game for the most part. There's some problems here and there, like how like every build ends up being a Gucci build eventually, where like everyone's running uniques. But that's more of a problem of the incentives of the non-unique items like champion affixes. Like, if champion affixes were actually worth a shit, worth a damn, maybe people wouldn't run all uniques. Who knows, right? That'd be great. But yeah, overall, I like the 1 LP slam system. That's my first plus of the patch. I know there's some problems with it, but overall, I think it's been a benefit to the game. Another thing that I find positively about the game is I know I talked about Uber Aberoth a lot, but if you completely ignore Uber Aberoth and you just pretend it doesn't exist, which 99% of the community already does, as not many people have actually killed Uber Aberoth, considering the amount of people that's killed it versus the amount of people that have actually just played the game, right? So if you're like 99.99% of the community and you completely ignore Uber Aberoth's existence, the game has never been better in terms of build diversity, ever. And what do I mean by that? Well, I have been more incentivized to test things, play different weird stuff more often than not. Last patch, I definitely felt like if I wasn't playing a good build, I was going to always have a terrible time. But because of the 1 LP guaranteed slams, because of like merchant skill, because of the woven tree, which allows me to target farm specific things much easier. Like a good example is I played a bleed javelin forge guard recently, and I really wanted a Sierpin's Fractal Touch, not for my single target setup, but for my clear, because I wanted to actually clear with the build and actually have decent clear. So I needed a Sierpin's, and I ended up imprinting the Rune Prison on my mono as soon as I got one, and I did like 5 of them in a row because I'm pretty sure that redoing the same Rune Prison over and over again to drop like whatever uniques, I think that's probably an exploit and it's probably going to get removed next patch, whatever, cool. So I wanted to play as though it didn't get removed, so I ended up doing like 5 Rune Prisms in a row, and then I got the item I wanted. That was cool. I want more of that, where like I specifically see where I need an item and I take steps to go towards that item. And the imprint system is a pretty good way of getting to that. Now, is it broken? Yes, the imprint system is utterly and bastardly broken, but if they're gonna add stuff like Uber Aberoth into the game, which we'll talk about a little bit more, there's a positive of Uber Aberoth, which we'll get into in a second. Um, if they're gonna add stuff like that in the game, like who cares about power creep anymore, right? Who cares? When that's like your ceiling of DPS, like have fun with it, I guess. It's made getting double exalted a lot easier, and also as well, I'm gonna bundle this up with the runes of havoc and runes of redemption. They make crafting for off color like meme builds way easier. I've had a lot more freedom in crafting because Rune of Havoc allows me to like get my tier 7 like armor shred on a mace to slap on a Boulder's Wrath to then, get that Boulder's Wrath to play a Frostbite build on Sorcerer. Like that was really nice to get that very quickly. That would have taken forever if it was last patch. So yeah, overall, the build diversity isn't great if you completely ignore Uber Aberoth. Now we've talked about all that. Let's talk about a positive of Uber Aberoth. I've talked about a negative of him, right? Let's talk about a positive. We finally have an upper ceiling expectation of DPS. Oh my goodness, it only took 5 years. We've been listening to the same malarkey constantly over and over again. Oh, if your build does 300 corruption, it's like good. Oh, it's good enough. Finally, we have a number to aim towards if we want to do damage, and that is Uber Aberoth. This is very good for a lot of different reasons. First things off, between Uber Aberoth, right, and nothing, that's like the acceptable range of DPS, right? Cool. And I would say killing him in 4 minutes is an acceptable amount of time. Personally, I don't know what the devs are aiming for, but 4 minutes sounds like a fine amount of time. Anything more than that gets excessive and boring. Cool. But also as well, it kind of like takes a lot of nerfs that we've received and kind of puts them in a negative light. So like a good example, recently there was a nerf to Explosive Trap where they nerfed the crap out of the mana cost a little too overzealously. And if you look at that nerf in comparison to now, where we see all the stuff that's like popping up because killing Uber Aberoth and stuff like that, why did they nerf Explosive Trap? And then you look back in time and you think about other builds that got nerfed in the past. Now, I'll be honest, like if we get a stupid nerf, now we can really be angry about it. Because like, if it's not doing Uber Aberoth, but it's good, why are you nerfing it? That's a good question. Like, we finally have a standard to put things to, because I'm pretty sure unless the game survives for like 10 years and they add Uber Aberoth or whatever they fucking do, right? A new boss with bigger HP and all that. Because of that, it means now that we have this kind of like measurement tool. Like a good example is if a build is good and fun, but it doesn't completely delete Uber Aberoth, it doesn't need to be nerfed anymore. And a good example is Explosive Trap. Explosive Trap doesn't really need to get nerfed. Like I think like there's a lot of good like Sentinel builds right now that don't really need to get nerfed. There's certain ones that do, but there's a lot of them that don't, and that's good. That's good for the game. Because now that we have this kind of like upper echelon, we have something to compare all our builds to so that we can know if it's broken or not. Oh my goodness. If you kill Uber Aberoth in like 30 seconds, yeah, your build might get nerfed. But you know what? If you kill him in 4 minutes or 3 minutes or 2 minutes, it's probably fine, especially with high investment, right? Depending on the investment. And this is just a giant weight off of my shoulders and off of a lot of other people's shoulders, because now I don't have to babysit the game in terms of like, oh, like this build is fun and all, but like it's kind of overpowered and broken. Well, now I know what is objectively overpowered and broken, because it's the shit that's like completely deleting Uber Aberoth in seconds, like Javelin Time Rot or stuff like that, right? Now, like for instance, a good example is a lot of people complain to me. They're like, hey, that Smite Fissure build you played as League Start, that build was like overpowered and shit. Guess what? It's not. It's completely fine. In the grand scheme of things, you probably could do Uber Aberoth on it. It wouldn't have the best DPS ever, but it's not broken. Same thing with like some other builds. Like a good example, they buffed Infernal Shade this patch, and we thought that was the stupidest idea ever, considering how strong Infernal Shade is. But Infernal Shade can do Uber Aberoth, but it doesn't do it that fast. So they don't need to nerf Infernal Shade. I don't know. It just makes me feel so much better about the game now that we know what is the limit of what they expect, because we've been spending so long playing this song and dance talking about what's overpowered and what's not, and now that we finally have a fucking bullet right there in front of us, like a way to test it and to make sure, it just makes me feel a lot better. And that's going to be it for my opinions today. I have a few other things, but like it's like small little tidbits, right? Nothing too crazy. Like I like the Weaver tree. I like how that got implemented. I think there are certain problems with the Weaver tree, but like we can get into that later. It's like whatever. Very small things, very minute things that I have problems with or I'm praising and stuff like that. So those were the major stuff. With all that being said, this has been Dread. I'll have to do something else. Bye.